to SPARTA Seniors, Stay Active with Coach Julio, Episode 2. Today we are going to be doing some auxiliary exercises for core stability, strength, some wall push-up variation, introduction to lateral movements, and dynamic balance. On top of all that, I'm going to have a trivia about the human body. It will be fun, and a special cameo. But before we go any further, please watch this message. Thank you for tuning in to episode 2. Now, if you missed episode 1, see the link in the description. I highly suggest watching it so you can get optimal results. All right, so what's on the menu for today? So today we are going to be doing some exercises on the floor, and we're going to target the shoulder blades, shoulders, and hips. And then throughout these exercises on the floor, we're also going to strengthen our postural muscles, our inner thighs, our glute strength, and everything will transfer over to our daily activities, such as walking, grabbing, lifting, etc. We're going to do some introduction to lateral movements. I'm going to show you variations on moving laterally or sideways. Why is this important? Because we also do this unconsciously when we're walking, if we have to move around someone, etc. On top of that, I'm going to have you do some wall push-up variations. You got to stay tuned for that. You may see some new moves. And last but not least, I am going to be doing some dynamic balance exercises with you. You can't miss that. So let's get started. Okay, so what are we going to use today? So for today's session, all we're really going to need something equivalent to some water bottles. You can choose the size. They can also be cans. We are going to use this for our strength training. These will be your resistance. So why don't you hit pause? Oh, by the way, you should also get a ball, because in our last series I forgot to do the ball exercise. It could be a golf ball, a lacrosse ball, something equivalent, or a tennis ball. So why don't you hit pause, go get the equipment, and then unpause it, and we can jump right into it. All right, so let's get started. The first exercise I'm going to show you is a variation of a bird dog. Some of you may have seen them or have done them before, maybe in physical therapy or in your past training or exercises. Some people also call it a quadruped. And this exercise, again, is going to be for core strength, but more importantly, core stability. With any exercises that I show you, safety is always number one. And remember that if you're not comfortable doing it, do not do it. And when in doubt, just reach out to your primary care physician to make sure that it's safe and appropriate for you. Basically meaning my knee and my hands are on the floor. My knees should be directly underneath my hips. My hands directly underneath my shoulders. So that's part one we need to get down. And my back is flat. From this position, you will notice my neck is neutral, so I'm looking down, and my toes are curled right here. A bird dog traditionally will be something like this. So here my legs extended, my hips are squared to the floor, my foot is flexed, and my opposite arm reaches. One of the most important things as we do this movement, I'm going to ask you, is to make sure you're looking down. And you're not holding your breath. That's a no-no. Now, when I do a basic bird dog, which is the basic fundamental movement that most people do, you're going to notice my hips want to rotate. When I show you this exercise, I call it a bird dog with windshield wipers. And just like the regular bird dog that you do with your arm going in front or in front of your head, you want to fight that rotation with the hips. So let me show you a couple of different views of how this exercise is going to look, and then we'll talk about reps and sets. So the exercise basics are this. And you can also break this up into segments. So you can even just extend your leg and practice on holding that leg out there, say for 5 to 10 seconds. The other movement, that part of my bird dog with windshield wipers, and again, you're going to get my my weird analogies or exercises. My arm is to the side, my thumb is up, I raise my arm all the way up, and then I bring it down. I exhale as I lift. Notice my opposite leg is staying up with my foot flexed. So yes, this is work. I'm going to show a different view of this. My opposite leg extends, and my arms out to the side, palms facing forward, and then I raise, and you need to stop at shoulder height. That's very important. We're not going to pass. So I'm up, shoulder height, exhale. So that's, like I've said in episode 1, I'm going to continue the theme of unilateral training. That's unilateral training. Why is it important? Because if we're always doing exercises where we're doing bilateral, meaning both limbs working at the same time, we're never going to be able to address the muscle imbalances we all have. It could be, if I'm right dominant, that side's obviously going to be much stronger, or if I have a precondition in my left knee. There are so many benefits by doing both bilateral and unilateral training. Let's show you another angle. So I'm doing the same arm and leg, as you can see. My left leg extends, my foot is flexed. I'm big on form and technique, and we always look for progress. We're no perfection. Neck is neutral, looking down. Exhale as I raise, shoulder height, then back down. 3, 2, 1 up, 1 second down. 3, 2, 1 up, 1 second down. As I said earlier, just because I like repetition, you can break this exercise up into segments. It's all good. So what do I mean by that? Once again, like I showed you earlier, you may build up your strength and core stability by keeping your leg extended. So you're like, I can do it for 5 seconds today, and then a couple of days from now, you're doing it for 10 seconds, so boom. It could be the arm. So I have my knee, both knees are down, sorry. Then I just have my arm, and I'm raising it. So I'm doing 10, 9, 8. And then when the time comes, you're going to say, I'm going to try that bird dog windshield wiper today. And there you go. That's how I want you to focus on this. I want you to either to break them up in segments, or you can just jump right into it. The awesome part about these exercises, auxiliary exercises, that all we're doing is we're doing it for movement and for progress. We're not looking for perfection. How many reps should you build up to? So when you're doing the windshield wiper part, try to build up from 5 to 10 reps. 3 sets, if you can do it in a day, that would be great. You can break it up. You can do it in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. Reminder about going to the floor and standing up. So just make sure that you do not get lightheaded or dizzy going up and down, up and down. So that's very important. What I suggest before you're going right up, don't just stand up. Just a suggestion. I want you to be in a half kneeling position, say 3 to 5 seconds or longer, just to hang out here so we can reset our blood pressure. And then after 5, 10 seconds, however you get up, if it's with something near you, if you push off your leg, that's fine. But give yourself 5 to 10 seconds before you stand up from the floor. That's just trivia time. Okay, so for today's trivia, what is the strongest bone or hardest bone in the human body? Let's think about it. Is it the skull? Well, it's the femur or thigh bone. The thigh bone is extremely, extremely strong. For some people, we even equate it to as strong as concrete. But it does break, and it takes a lot of force to break it. And that's today's trivia. So next time you're with friends and family, ask them that question, and they will be very, very impressed with your knowledge and expertise. All right, time for some strength. So we have some water bottles. After your workout, you earned the right to drink the water. And you can do whatever way you want. You can be old school, pour it over your head, get dramatic, or you can just drink it gracefully. We're going to do a chest exercise on the floor. I will show you 2 variations of how to hold it. So I'm a little bit nerdy when it comes to setting up. We're going to lie on our back. So I have the weights, and then I roll back, and I'm on my back. From that position, you're going to notice my feet on the floor, and my knees are bent, and my back is flat. We call this a close grip press. So my elbows are almost hugging my ribs. I press up, my palms are facing in, and then I bring it back down. So it's a 1 second up, 3, 2, 1. Exhale as you press, 3, 2, 1. Exhale as you press, inhale as you go down. And I just had a very interesting thought. Make sure these water bottles are really tightly capped so you don't leak water. These are unused, so that's important to do. Let me show you a different view, and then we'll talk about the reps and sets later. So here's the close grip press. 3, 2, 1. Straight up. Exhale as I press. The other position we can do with the arms, I bring them out. So it looks like a traditional chest press. Exhale as I press. 3, 2, 1. Exhale as I press. 3, 2, 1, down. The 3, 2, 1 down is the tempo. We call that in the eccentric phase. You can get some good gains from that. Plus, we're going to have the chance to really control the movement and get the maximum results from it. When we're doing the close grips, we're getting a little bit more triceps, these muscles back here, and we're still getting the chest. When it's out in this position, it's recruiting more pecs or more chest muscles. The triceps are also part of the journey too. How many reps and how many sets? All right, so for this, I want you to work up to 15 to 20 reps. Yes, 15 to 20 reps. So you can start with 5 reps, and then next thing you know, 2 days or 3 days later, you build up to 10, but we gotta have some goals. How many sets? The usual 3 sets. And again, you can do the 3 sets in one sitting, or you can do them, you can spread them out throughout the day. Okay, my friends, so now we come to the segment of the video where I ask you to do to get a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball, or a golf ball, something equivalent to that. Preferably it will be hard, but if you have a tennis ball, that's fine. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to take that ball and put it underneath your foot. So what does that do? Think of it as what massage therapists do for us, right? They find a knot somewhere and you're like, oh, that hurts. And then after 5 to 8, 10 seconds, you're like, wow, that feels good. And then there's a little release. So what we're going to do is start to do some muscle release under the plantar fascia. That's good. So what I recommend is you find a place there where you're like, oh, I have a lot of tension. And you hold, say, like 10 to 20 seconds. How often should you do this? I suggest doing it daily, especially if you had a day where you did a whole bunch of stepping, a lot of walking around. Do it at the end of the day. It's very relaxing as you're watching TV, any time of the day. For our introduction to lateral movements or sidestepping. So I'm going to give you some, actually go to the exercise. I want to just show you my feet position when I do this. This is just an idea. This is optimal. And we just do our best to have our feet position when we do the sidestepping like this. So if you notice my feet, when I have you do the exercise, you're going to do your best to have your feet pointing forward. You're going to do your best to have your feet pointing forward. So do not do the exercise yet. I'm just showing you some basics. That's basic number 1. Basic number 2, I don't want you to step high. We're just basically just doing a very, just sidestepping. There's no hurdles involved. We can do that in the next series. The next thing we're going to make sure that we keep our chest up as we're doing this movement. So I move and my chest are up. And I move sideways. All right. So why are lateral movements important? Again, when we're walking unconsciously, we may have to walk around an object. We may have to walk around people. If something's incoming, it's good to practice this moving so we can move. So that was more of a rotation, but we can move sideways. It's going to carry over to your daily activities. And the best part about this, as you get efficient and you do it more frequently, certain muscle groups become stronger and more conditioned. For today, one of the variations, I am going to show you how to do this movement with resistance, but let's show variation 1. By the way, safety tips. So before we do any movements, like lateral movements or any exercises where we're moving around, I want you to check the following. Why don't we check our sneakers or whatever foot gear we have? Are they tied? I do that. I always make sure that they're tied. Secondly, because we're going to be moving laterally, or whatever way, we want to make sure there's nothing in the area that we can trip over. So before we do this exercise, I want you to make sure you check that off, checklist. Sneakers, foot gear, anything around the area that we can trip. And if it's all go, let's begin. All right, so variation 1. What I'm going to ask is that you are going to have something very stable, say like a table. Ideally something that's about waist height. If you have something higher, that's fine too, but just like a normal table. And I want to share this with you. So for athletes, this is like athletic training. It's the same principles. So before you see an athlete with their high skills, they have to start somewhere. And guess where they start, my friends? They start with movement. So we learn movement, just like an athlete, because you're one too. And then the performance comes second, and then skill. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to learn movement, then performance, and skill. So here we go. So as I said earlier, your feet will be pointing forward. I want your fingertips to be on the table. My chest is up. I step, 1, 2, stop. 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 Then I go back, stop, step, 1, 2. So after you do that, you've got to build some trust with the exercise. You're like, I want to take it to another level. What you can do, instead of tapping, you can keep your hands above the table. So I step, so you know that it's there. Step, 1, 2, pause, stop. Anytime. So you do that for a couple of rounds, and then once you start to feel confident in your abilities, I want you to go to the next level. All right, so let's begin with some other lateral movements, and you get to choose which one is most comfortable and appropriate for you. So the basics again, feet pointing forward, and one of the things that we want to make sure is that we're upright, and that's one of the most important things. If we're looking down, our nose is pointing down, there's a good chance we may fall forward, so we can use our peripheral vision to make sure that nothing is in our area. So here's something you can do to begin. Pretend you are ballroom dancing or break dancing, whatever you like. Pretend you have a partner in front, and I'm not a good dancer, so I sidestep, pause, step, pause. You can put some music on if you want. Sidestep, pause. So your friends and family may see you and be like, that looks silly, or they may want to join in and dance. So then you can explain why Coach Julio had you do it with your arms up. When your arms are up, guess what's happening with your posture in your chest? To show you a side view, you're up. And another bonus thing, you are strengthening your upper body by holding this movement in an isometric manner. So you can say, I like that, but my arms are getting tired. Then we build up strength. So let's say we do 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, pause, and your arms are getting tired. That's okay. You bring them down, and you stop. Make sure you're stable. Hands on your hips or by your side, and you complete the movement. 1, 2, stop. 1, 2, stop. 1, 2, stop. 1, 2, stop. Another variation we can do dynamic for the lower body and upper body. So my arms out in front again. As I step, I open. Some brain activity here, and I clap. Open, clap. Open, clap. Open, clap. So I'm smiling because the coordination might look easy, but it's not. Well, it's not for me. I'll speak for myself. And if you get the coordination wrong, guess what? It's okay. We'll start over. So my feet are together. I inhale as I open, exhale as I close. I didn't forget about the breathing. Smell the roses, blow out the candles. Smell the roses, blow out the candles. Your range of motion for this movement doesn't have to be, ideally it would be toe, shoulder. I don't want you to go behind. If it stops here or here and that's the best you got, in my book, that's better than good. That's great. We work within your comfort zone. And then the next thing is you can start adding some resistance. So we got to have stepping stones. You first want to try to practice the other exercises, holding this up, then a dynamic clap. You can do the side raises. You can hold a water bottle or can or something of resistance dumbbell, whatever you feel comfortable. And I sidestep, pause, sidestep, pause, sidestep, pause, sidestep, pause, sidestep, pause. My feet still pointing forward. The distance of your sidestep doesn't have to be great. It could just be very little. It could be small. Small is fine. Small is preferred. And then as you get acclimated with this one, I'll add this so you can hold it in one hand. Now, as you notice, the weight's not distributed in the middle. It's on one side. So what you want to focus on this is to make sure your shoulders stay level. So I do this side. However, you can hold it this way. And again, you want to keep the shoulders leveled. That was a unilateral addition to that exercise with resistance on one side. So if I have resistance on this side has to work a little harder to keep me leveled. So those are a couple of lateral movements that you can add to your regular routine. Safety is always number one. All right, my friends, so this is the segment where I share a quote that's uplifting and motivational. And let's jump right into it. Try to guess, and guess who said this? People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. There you go. All right. Now for another standing exercise. I'm smiling for a reason. Many of you have probably done wall push-ups. So standard wall push-up is fantastic for our upper body strength. What I want to show you is a variation of a push-up against the wall. So we can work individually. As I said earlier, unilateral exercise has tremendous benefits because of the muscle imbalances that we can work independently, say one chest and one shoulder blade again, versus doing something that's bilateral. So let's do a standard push-up right against the wall. So from this position here, my elbows are pointing down, I lean forward, and then I press out. Inhale, smell the roses, then I press out. As I always say, if you have any pain, discomfort in doing these exercises, stop. It's very important. It's not worth it. So that's just a standard wall push-up, right? And then the angle. And of course, you can do it on another surface that's lower. If you're doing it on the floor, fantastic. Because you can actually do what I'm going to show you on the floor. So now I want you to imagine I have a giant clock right here. So I should look at a clock. These days, everything is digital. So that's 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that's 2 o'clock, and then my other hand is at 7 o'clock. So we call this clock push-ups. That's what I call them, because that's how it's easy for me to remember, and that's how I teach it. So what I want you to do is a clock push-up. So here's 2 o'clock, and then here's 7. Now for you, you don't have to go as wide as me. You go wherever you feel most comfortable. So I inhale, and I do that, let's say 5 reps. So notice the hand position I have on this side is higher, so that shoulder blade is being worked differently than my bottom hand. And I'm still getting my pecs. So let's say this is 4, 5. And then I will get to the breathing, and then I switch. So I guess my friends, what's that? You gotta help me out. Is that 9? 11, right? And then this is 4. Smell the roses, press out. Exhale, 2. Your wrist position, I want you to do those wherever you feel most comfortable. So pretend there's a wall in front of me. So if you feel more comfortable like that, that's fine. And then vice versa. Fine. So those are clock push-ups. So one of the things I'm doing with you, which you may not even be noticing, is that I'm starting to work your wrist, strengthen your wrist, by putting it in different positions. Rather than this is the position that we normally have when we're doing computer work, or it's not a very common position to have our hands like this. So let's do a couple of reps. You can do 5 to 10 reps. You can alternate them. And as I've been saying, you can do 3 sets in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. Or if you're adventurous, do them all at one time. So I lean forward. 5. Where you should not feel this is your elbow, your neck in a bad way, and your wrist in a bad way. All right, so let's say you did 10 reps. You're like, hey, man, that's good. I need a little bit more challenge. I got a challenge for you. So instead of just doing one side for all the reps, you can do 1 slide. And you can choose the tempo you wish, if it's 3, 2, 1, going forward, or 2 tempo. How about that? That's pretty cool. It's a giant clock. I don't recommend getting a marker and a crayon and putting, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if that helps you, it is what it is. Now we are at the dynamic balance segment. So before we begin this series, I want to make sure that you look around and make sure there's nothing around the floor that you may trip on. Secondly, make sure your foot gear is nice and tight. And for this exercise, for these series of exercises, I want to make sure that you feel confident and safe. So if you feel unsafe, or if you don't feel confident or stable in doing any of these exercises, just stop. Don't do it. It's better you do it with someone nearby, friend, family, fitness professional, physical therapist. That's my biggest suggestion. Other than that, let's begin. So I first want you to have something very stable. So here's a table. Table could be waist height. This is a little bit higher. It's perfect. I will show you a couple of different angles of these exercises. Again, it's dynamic balance. Some of you have probably done balance exercises before. Maybe you have one leg up and you just hold it. That's more of an isometric hold. So dynamic balance is just basically we're going to be doing single leg stuff with moving parts. And I'll show you what I mean. So again, I'm going to show you the first series. So here, I'm about arm's length away. I'm going to raise my fingertips are just touching the table. I'm upright. I'm relaxed, very important. My right knee goes up as high as it can, and from that position, I'm just going to tap 5, 4, relax, 3, 2, 1, then bring it down. We do it again. Relax. Knee goes up as high as you can, guys. Then we count 5, tap, 4, 3, 2, 1. The tapping is tricking the brain into thinking you're actually touching something stable. And another thing that it's also doing is preventing you from leaning too much forward. Because sometimes if we're actually just holding the knee up and just keeping our hands on the table, we may have a tendency to lean forward and not get the benefits of the taps, which makes all these other muscles fire, the stabilizes muscles to keep us upright. The safety part is you are cognizant and very aware of that this stable surface is in front of you. Let me show you a side view. So this is a different level for this same exercise. What's the difference? Instead of 3 points of contact, both hands on one leg, I'm going to have 2 points of contact. So it will be this hand and this leg, and it won't be 2 points of contact when I start tapping. So here's that same knee goes up, foot's relaxed, I tap, 5, 4, 3, 2, shoulders leveled, 1. I show you again, relax. And just breathe into it, 5, 4, 3. You can experiment, you can go higher, 2, 1. Safety is always number 1, and you want to do the exercise you feel most comfortable. And of course, we will do the other side. So variation 2. So we did this way with 2 hands, and knee goes up. Next thing we can do is have one arm up, not easy, and then have this knee up, and I tap. 5, 4, 3, look straight, 2, 1, and then back down. Yeah, that reminds me too, when you're doing these balance exercises, you want to make sure that there is no loud noises or anything that may affect your concentration. Just want to put that out there. And there's no wrong way of doing this. If you like the little taps, that works. If you like the higher taps, it's all good. You want to do what's most comfortable for you. So now I'll give you this view. Hand to the side, outside arm up, knee goes up. I start counting. 5, 4 little taps, 3, 2, 1. And I do one more. So let's do my last variation. And now it's going to be an isometric exercise along with a dynamic part, which will be the tapping. So again, my chest is up. This is going to look kind of interesting, but it works. My knee goes up. My free hand grabs that knee, and I pull that guy up, but it's relaxed, and I tap. 5, 4, 3, it's not easy. 2, 1. I show you a view. Relax. Smell the roses, blow out the candles, knee goes up, 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 up. Grab the knee with the outside arm. 5, not easy. 4, 3, 2, 1. Repeating this movement and the tapping over a couple of days, couple of weeks, your body and your brain will adapt to it. So if you're finding it very challenging at this point, that's perfectly fine. Say if you get 3, or if you do all 5, then great. You want to continue to do it. Frequency is very important. So what I'm trying to say is a learning curve with this exercise, so don't give up. And that's pretty much it. So dynamic balance is fun, challenging, and very effective. Great workout today, SPARTA Seniors. So for our next episode, I will be showing or introducing the basics of hip hinges with different stances, some squat variations, yes, there are more, and some overhead exercises that can accommodate everyone, every precondition, just about. So episode wouldn't be complete without a cameo from Food to Fitness Feline. So yes, I did have to bribe her. She is on her way. And then after I do this, I would have to feed her because it will be completely unfair. There she is, food, ready for her third breakfast. So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. Feel free to send me your fitness goals, or you can post them in the comments. And also, you are welcome to send me pictures of your pets, any quotes. I will be more than happy to share it in future episodes. So till then, as I always say, remember this: every effort counts.